One-step attack number 6 begins when the opponent drops back into a good guarding stance, stepping forward into a good lunge punch. From there, we do a quick change, closing the opponent down, stepping into a high-low strike, much like the C block. We punch the kidneys or ribs and the head. We step on the same side that he punched. From there, we step offline and throw a kick across the body, backing off with our hands up. Done full out, it looks something like this. This technique is done on both sides. Rise to feet safely starts from a seated position, assuming that we had fallen to the ground. From here, we post our hand on one side, bring our hand up in front of our face to protect at all times. From here, we do a kick with the leg on the ground, pulling it all the way back through until we can rise up into a good guarding stance or self-defense position. Done full out, it looks something along this line. Defend the standing guillotine begins when the opponent grabs the student in a good grip guillotine. The student then grabs with his outside hand and pulls down on the guillotine grip. He then does a ridge hand to the groin, reaching that hand back up and making a Y, stepping forward, breaking the grip and through, rotating the arm, then strikes up, dislocating the shoulder, and pulls back, stepping back, bringing the opponent to the ground. This done in its entirety looks like this. The break fall flow drill begins with a left hand break fall, then a right, coming up and doing a left shoulder roll. From there, we do a back break fall, switching our legs, going into a back roll, then a right shoulder roll, landing in a front break fall. Done full out, it looks like this. Good finish position with the head to the side. The basic clinch position begins when we each put one hand on our opponent's shoulder and our opposite hand goes across their elbow. From here, Kazushi would entail making sure that we're not just rotating the shoulders to the back or to the side, but a combination of both of those. This particular technique is done as we step forward, driving them to the ground. As you notice, if done correctly, the sweep would be a secondary part of the technique. Osotogari is performed from a basic clinch position. First, we do what we call Kazushi by rotating and turning our partner while we take our first step. Then stepping through, sweeping the outside leg, controlling the body. Done at full speed, it looks like this. Kosotogari is started from a basic clinch position, performing Kazushi on the opponent as we step through with a half step. From there, we use our front leg and sweep back on that front leg, controlling the arm at the end. Done full out, it looks something like this. Passing the guard begins in a closed guard position. The person on top starts with their hands on the opponent's hips, lifting straight up, placing their knee in the opponent's tailbone. From there, pushing on the hips, arching the back, and extending the opposite leg, they break the guard. We then place our hand on the knee that is on the ground, raising our knee that was in the tailbone up into combat base. From there, we drop our knee straight over, touching the ground, bringing our hand around the head and our knee up to the body tight in a good side control position. The shrimp escape from side control begins by having good frames across the upper person's body. From there, we bump up and shrimp out. We bring our lower knee across the body, then extending the body, holding on to the opponent that is in the guard, bringing our legs around and completing the technique. Stepping off to side control begins from the mount position. First, we drop, hooking the head on one side. We then extend that same side leg to the ground, making sure that the foot is still posted, holding the hip in place. We replace our hand to the hip and then pull the leg across the body, creating a spot where we can lift our hips, pulling the other leg through until our knees are tight against their body, our arm around their head and the other elbow on the mat. To return to that position, we slide through like a baseball slide, making sure that our hand is posted on our opponent's hip. We then bring that leg across and rise to mount position and sit up in a good tall posture.